Good morning, everybody. Today, we're talking about one secret, powerful, new management word. The 4 steps I talk about to help develop emotional maturity for your teams and emotional management. We're also going to talk about Russian hobbits and where they came from and who on earth is the Brad Pitt of bonsai trees. We're going to cover all that and more in today's show for Spark. Here we go. So this morning, we're actually starting with cup of gratitude. Do you have your cup of gratitude with you? Do you have a hot cup of tea or coffee floating around? Pick up your cup of coffee or tea. We're going to cover cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? I want to hear in the comments what you're absolutely most grateful for this morning. I'm telling you, I got a lot to be grateful for this morning, so I'm going to try to limit it a little bit so we can get right to this one new secret word. Chances are you've never heard of this word, though if I gave you this word, it would make sense. We're going to talk about that real quick. But we're going to talk about what I'm grateful for. And this morning, I'm massively grateful for Atomic Habits. Yes, the book, and yes, the action. I woke up this morning, and I did not want to do day 4 of my 2-a-day workouts. I did not want to do day 4 of going out for a run in the morning. But Atomic Habits are all I did. I didn't even get up to do the run. I get up to put on my shoes. I got up to use the restroom, and I got up and I walked outside. And in walking outside, I do have a habit. When I walk outside, when I normally run, I turn around and lock the door. Well, as soon as I went outside and hit that lock button, I was already outside. I was already feeling the fresh air, and I thought, well, I might as well walk down the street. And if I'm walking down the street, I might as well turn on my running app. So I turn on my running app and walk down the street. And then 5 minutes later, it said, start running now. And I was running. Was it my best run ever? Nah, not hardly. But I'm grateful for Atomic Habits because I did my run. I drank a ton of water and the dominoes start to fall in place. Let me tell you something. Do you have a morning routine? And did that morning routine start with micro habits, Atomic Habits? If you haven't read the book or listened to the book, I recommend it. Brittany recommends it. Check it out. Go observe Atomic Habits. I am massively grateful for it. That's what got me up and running this morning. What are you grateful for? I'd love to hear in the comments. What are you absolutely most grateful for today? And before we kick off the show, I do want to extend an invite. If you ever got anything from the show, if you think someone in your life needs a spark of enthusiasm, a spark of vision, a little bit of insight and encouragement, please tag them, share this video, like the video, share it. Let us spread the word of igniting lives. I got my shirt on down here. Igniting lives of explosive significance. That's what that's all about. State of the Spark, igniting lives of explosive significance. If there's someone in your life who needs to be ignited a little bit and start their day right, anytime you drop by the show, it would mean a lot to me if you shared the video to a group you like, or just tag a friend or like it. I appreciate you. Let's talk about other news. News that'll elevate you, make you a little more intelligent, and also expand your horizons. You got to look at news beyond what news wants you to read. You got to look at news that edifies you with the human species. Let's talk about other news and the Brad Pitt of bonsai. For those who don't know, and I think my beautiful wife doesn't even know this about me. Marissa, tell me if you know this about me. I did bonsai from the age of 19 to 22. Not many people know that. My house had a bunch of bonsai trays or dishes, and I had several bonsai trees. I had a Florida American pine that I was trying to raise. I had a Japanese cedar, I believe it was. I had several bonsai, and I wasn't the greatest at it, but I loved it. So this came up in my feed today that America's youngest bonsai master is now flourishing in his native home of Tennessee. Yes, Bjorn Holm. No, I didn't make that name up. Bjorn Holm, age 34, from Nashville, Tennessee, has been called by some the Brad Pitt of bonsai. Never thought I'd put those phrases together. The Brad Pitt of bonsai. Yes, this Brad Pitt of bonsai went to Kyoto, Japan many moons ago to study bonsai. He's in love with bonsai and he wanted to study under a master. And though the master rejected him for some time for being a Westerner, not wanting to teach his secrets to an outsider, Bjorn Bjornholm showed up 7 days a week and just worked for free, volunteered, carried water, carried clips, stood in the corner, observed until finally the master began teaching him. Now, he's called the Brad Pitt of bonsai because he's 6'6", muscular and gorgeous, says the article. I don't know who wrote this article. But he ended up becoming an expat in Japan and living there for 9 years to study with his master 7 days a week, earning virtually nothing and developing and honing his skill. When was the last time something moved you and you let it move you so deeply that you would be willing to move to another country to learn how they do it there? To volunteer and earn nothing and forsake what other people are normally doing, buying homes, getting jobs, having families, settling down, and spending 9 years or more somewhere else to learn a skill. Not many people would do that. So the locals in Japan began even preferring Bjorn over his traditional bonsai master. And as Bjorn puts it in his own words, I'd like to think it was because I was so skilled. But the truth is, a lot of these people who own bonsais, and let me tell you a little bit about bonsais in a second, a lot of these owners of bonsais wanted to be able to say that the Westerner, the 6'6" muscular white dude who towered over everybody, at least in his neighborhood in Japan, was the one who actually trimmed and took care of their bonsai. Now, a real quick thing about bonsai, you hear a lot right now about owning a Banksy painting. Or alternatively, you might hear about a Monet that stayed with the family for 100 years, and then suddenly they moved it out of the living room and sold it at a Christie's auction, an heirloom of sorts. The way bonsais are handled is, first and foremost, you can do your own bonsai, and it's not a type of tree, it's a type of how you culture or cultivate the tree. But if something is taken care of over time, these bonsai actually stay with the family and have value. You can actually go get assessments on your bonsai. You can get loans against your bonsai. It is treated both as art and as heirloom. In fact, some other day, I will tell you the story of how I stumbled into a private bonsai gallery in a foggy morning in China. I'd love to tell you that story. I believe it was Shanghai. I'll tell you that story sometime, some other time. Katie Yates jumps in and says, good morning. She's absolutely grateful for morning wake-ups and new adventures. Dude, no joke, Katie. Waking up for morning wake-ups and new adventures. And to back Katie's thoughts here, we met this week for the next level that her business is taking. So I'm grateful for you, Katie. Awesome. And then another user, I don't even know who this is. This wasn't, oh, someone else posted the link. And this is absolutely the article. Who posted this link? It says Facebook user, but it doesn't show me who. I was actually going to paste this in just a minute. I can't even tell where this came from. I'll have to post the link. That's the link right there. I didn't even mean to post it yet. Here it is. Boom. And maybe, here we go. Let's do this here for you. Boom. There's the link right there. That's the link of the article I have. Someone else posted this link here of Bjorn Bjornholm. Sorry that it's not coming up. It's just showing Facebook user. Identify yourself and let me know who you are so I can give you a shout out this morning. But long story short, it was me, bro. I know, but it's just showing Facebook user, bro. Who is this? Where is this even posted? I can't tell. Jared. Oh, all right, Jared. I don't know where you're posting from, man. I'd love to see it. Anyways, I digress. Long story short, bonsai is a fine art and a skill and very valuable, but it also takes meditation and some of what I consider the best aspects of Eastern culture: presentness, patience, mindfulness. In fact, it takes so much patience that Bjorn Bjornholm mentioned that you could actually take 4 years to make a certain cut or angle in the bonsai so that 20 years from now, it looked a certain way. And you have to have that foresight. And at any given time, you're working on a half dozen or more bonsais so that by the time you are 20 years old, your bonsais look the way they're supposed to look, and they're still living. It's a beautiful skill, a beautiful art, actually. And I really recommend, whether it's Jared's link or my own link, I recommend you check it out. Here's Jared's link, boom, right there. And Jared, I don't even know where you posted. It must be the Catapult group or something, because it's not coming up on any of my pages, bro. Check that out. And then I posted the link on the State of the Spark page. Let me actually go ahead and post the link here for you, just so that you have it on my own page. Boom. There you go. And now you have it, both from Jared and myself, the Brad Pitt of bonsai. It's a beautiful skill, and Marissa loves greenery so much she might let me at least get back into bonsai. That is the first piece of other news. And now for Russian hobbits. How did they get there? Yes, I'm going to read you this headline because I couldn't make it up better than what it was, and I just posted it there. The long-lost Lord of the Rings adaptation from Soviet Russia is a glorious fever dream. And I'm gonna do this differently. I'm gonna post the link first so that you have the thumbnail of this thing. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. So that you have the thumbnail right there. And I want you to have the thumbnail because that is Smeagol looking at the ring. And you can tell that this is Soviet Russia, someone's VHS camera. And this actually went on Leningrad television. Leecher says, I've always wanted a bonsai tree, but I respect it too much, so I don't want to mess it up. Leecher, you are so accurate here. I actually had a moment where I had over pruned one of my bonsais. And I'm an impatient person. I'm not that patient guy. And I thought I had ruined it. And I actually threw it away. And I eventually said, oh, I'm not made it for this. And my ADD self-consciousness was like, oh, I'm not good enough for this. This is for, masters and stuff. And I walked away from it. But I actually think I might be in a place now where I could theoretically, as a reminder to be patient and to not overdo things, which is the real art of bonsai. How to keep a vision on what you want that thing to look like without overdoing it. So absolutely, Leecher, 100%. So this Lord of the Rings adaptation actually went on Leningrad television in 1991. We were still fresh off of the Berlin Wall coming down. I think that was, 89, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, maybe a little earlier than that. But it was still the 90s, man. And you could tell that this was not even made for TV. You could tell this was actually made with VHS. It's about an hour and 50 minutes long, and it covers only the Fellowship of the Ring. In fact, it's so bad, and you got to read the article. Please make me happy and read this article, because the way it describes it even says, if this looks like it was made by a local theater troupe on VHS, it was. And you like, what? So they did a little research on it. They've actually uploaded the entire thing in 2 parts on YouTube. The opening scene, all they did was have a camera on their prop for the One Ring, zooming out. And every now and again, they would cut away to people that they called the Nazgul riding through the snow. In fact, most of the entire movie occurs in the snow, which, if you know anything about the latitudes of Leningrad, that probably makes a little sense. In fact, my most laughable part is the fireworks display from Gandalf when he visits the birthday party. You've got to see this thing. You've got to actually check this out for us. Boom. And here is the 1985 film. I assume this is also from Jared doing our homework for us today. So it was made in 85 and played on television, roughly, in Leningrad television, roughly in 1991. Thank you, my friends. Hopefully, I don't know if this morning's news made you smarter, but hopefully we did have news from around the world to lighten your day and start your day right. So that, my friends, is other news. Let's talk about the 4 steps to leading a team with more emotion and the 1 word we're going to add to our emotional vocabulary. Let's talk about it. Brittany said, it made me laugh, that's for sure. Well, that's the point, Brittany. And if you actually click through some of the images and the snapshots in that article, Brittany, Oh my God. Like this thing actually exists. I think I really want to watch it. And I can't even imagine what the music must be like. But I digress. You had a lot of bored people in 1985 going, hey, I got an idea. This is my favorite book. It's time. Peter Jackson be damned. Let's do this thing. All right. Let's talk about leadership. So I am a get it done person for those who don't know. And I find that many get it done people like myself often can get to a point in their life where they want to see more results, want to push for more results. And quite often they look around and realize the people I was tugging at, the people I've been depending on to take that next level aren't around as much anymore. What is going on? We often think, especially as new entrepreneurs, hey, my idea will carry the day. I just have to present a good enough idea and everyone will jump on board. It's not the case. We often find that you could present what you know to be a solid idea and they still don't bite. Well, a lot of research and dialogue and discussion and training and experimentation today is really pointing to the fact that ideas really don't carry it. Connection and emotional connection with the teams carry it. So in this season, I am exploring taking my own medicine in this regard of how can I expand my own ability to connect with people. And I think the key, and I'm landing on the key, is the emotion side of where people are at often determines whether or not they will participate or how well they participate in your team. Your ability not only to sow vision, but to connect deeply with the people around you. Not only just serving them, but connecting with them. If you've heard me say it once, you'll hear me say it 100 times. We are a single human organism, I believe, where we are deeply connected, more like a coral. I often use the term virus, not for its negative connotations, but for its singular. We treat it as a single virus made up of many small parts. We are a single human species, and we have a lot of good going on for us, but we're operating far too independently, which is why Stephen Covey prudently called out for interdependence. But what is interdependence? How do we cultivate the emotional side? You know, Adam and Brittany spent a lot of time getting massive, awesome management training, systems training. I have spent a massive amount of time studying Fix This Next, a fantastic framework, Scaling Up, a fantastic framework, Clockwork, a fantastic framework. But they're also left-brained. They're also left-brained. And we know that we need to connect with people, connect with our team, connect with our followers, connect with our potential clients in an emotional way. So we go to StoryBrand and we get its left brain system of StoryBrand and we study that and then we try to implement it. But I think we often miss the forest for the trees. If you've ever heard of StoryBrand, you know that it follows Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. And we know that everyone has an innate, and Carl Jung called this out, we have an innate gravity towards the hero's journey, towards anyone's hero's journey or the heroine's journey. We follow it very closely. Leacher calls out a very interesting dynamic. Captain Kirk is a visionary, needed Spock, logistics, and Dr. McCoy, passion, who believed in him to bring the idea to life. Hashtag Trekkie for life. We need to match our ideas to other giftings. Hashtag Trekkie for life. Leacher, I didn't know, man. I love it. And I'm a Trekkie too. We were watching a show last night that had good Trekkie references. But my big question is how? And I don't want us to miss this point that though we even have good new cutting edge systems like Stephen Covey's interdependence, like Donald Miller's StoryBrand, and though we hear these things and they stir us to use, especially as business people, and we put them in front of people, I think we miss reading between the lines on what should happen inside of us. And what should happen inside of us is that we should be stirred emotionally to connect on a deep level with the people around us. If we're telling a story, even with the best TEDx framework, I saw a great TEDx video yesterday, and a guy he opened his TEDx video with, this is a TEDx talk. And this TEDx talk will actually have no meat in it, but I will relay to you how. to teach a TEDx talk. And he followed the formula, but he wasn't emotionally connected to it. He was just connected to the system. How many of you have a good system for temperaments, a good system for management, a good system for leadership, and you're turning the cranks, pulling the dials, you're following it word for word, but you're missing the spirit of the thing? I was talking to James on Tuesday, a good friend of mine, a good friend of Letra's, and we were talking about what we thought was the current flaw of our Christian friends. And a lot of our Christian friends, they know the language. They even know what I'm about to say. They're hearers of the word and not doers. They read the letter of the law, but they don't follow the spirit of the law. But it's not just Christians. We see this everywhere around us, especially in management teachings. So this major problem that's been burning in me, I've been wanting to solve. So I've been exploring a lot of my coaching teachings. And one of them is a coaching freedom framework that I've co-opted and modified a little bit, that I've been focusing on, thinking on, and not just trying to deploy outside of me, but to internalize inside of me. And it's this: 4 steps to connecting emotionally with your team. This will raise the emotional quotient with your team. Now's the time you want to tag a friend, because this is the meat. Now's the moment you want to earmark. We're at 22 minutes and 48 seconds. That's the moment you want to tell those people who might need to hear what I'm about to say. At 22 minutes and 55 seconds, here are the 4 steps to raise your own emotional quotient and the emotional quotient of people around you. Number 1, you need to add emotion vocabulary. Now notice, I did not say emotional vocabulary. Pause real quick. Letra jumps in here. I'm so glad to see your face, Letra. I love it. I love it when you're involved here. We must engage the cognitive, the conative, innate instinct aspect of ourselves and others. That's a different level of connection. It is a deeper level of connection. These are not people passing through your room that you nod to and you hope you get something out of. These are people who are becoming your coworkers, your co-laborers, your team. They're becoming your friends, whether you like it or not. Some people work in workplaces for 10 years and they haven't had a dinner or broken bread or connected deeply with their people. They just start turning their brains off, moving in and out. So here we go. Number 1, add emotion vocabulary. Notice I did not say emotional vocabulary. I don't just mean gushing emotionally. I mean, find words that relay. Oh, Letra says correct. It was cognitive, not conative. Gotcha. I'm with you, sister. We need to add a broader spectrum of words to describe our emotions. Did you have a good day or a bad day? Far too binary. Explore adding words that might be more nuanced to describe how you're feeling, how you think they're feeling. Quite often when we have a binary, you having a good day, we having a bad day, it almost sounds like you're talking down to them. But when you ask, hey, how's your day? It feels to me like you're having, I don't know. Now that I'm saying, I can't even think of it. It sounds today like you're having a challenging day. It sounds today like you might be thinking about something else. Are you distracted today? What are you thinking about? You need to expand your emotion vocabulary. And we're going to cap off this lesson with one new term that I'm going to add to your vocabulary. So number 1, add a broader emotional vocabulary. Break the mental loops of, hey, did you have a good day? Did you have a bad day? How are you today? Break the story loops and add a broader emotion vocabulary, number 1. Number 2, help you and your team note the emotions, but turn them into actions or plans. Quite often, if a team member shares an emotion, has an emotional moment, or shares an emotion with you, they're often struggling with something and they need something to change. I once read a study that most employees are more upset with their managers, not because they didn't listen, because a lot of managers do listen, but because they didn't take action on the things they heard. So number 2 is help you and your team turn emotions into actions or plans. Give it legs. Brittany jumps in here with an awesome piece of input. She says, I'm reading Donald Miller's Business Made Simple. And Brittany, this is on my to-read list. Absolutely. He says, a value-driven professional sees themselves as a hero, not a victim. Are the professionals in your business talking about themselves as though they are not in control of their life or future? How are we helping our employees be heroes and not victims? And if we are following step one of my steps here, add emotion to your vocabulary. A heroic, how are you feeling today? Man, you just seem really heroic today. That's emotion vocabulary. Hey, you seem like you're struggling, like you feel like you're bound up, or you feel like you're a victim today. What's going on? You wouldn't say that in front of other people. That would be a one-on-one, right? But in helping your employees, to her point down here, in helping your employees, you don't see this last sentence. How are we helping our employees be heroes and not victims? To help your employees be heroes and not victims, you can adopt that language. Hey, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're a victim to some of this? Are you feeling heroic today? You have to connect so deeply to be able to help your employees make that transition. So number one, add emotion vocabulary, and please do read the book, Business Made Simple. I know it's on my list. Number two, help move emotions to actions or plans so that you earn trust with your team that you are changing yourself and also the business to make things better. Number three, read the emotions of the room. I have a table right here, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 different tables of where our team is at. And I should actually make a small journal. I've got my Spark notebook here. Where did it go? My Spark notebook here, and I'll actually write down, Kiana seems like this. She feels like that. Read the emotions of the room and do it before you actually start presenting too many inputs and ideas. Like, think through what you're going to say and maybe add emotion vocabulary or change what you're going to say and just make an attempt to communicate it in a way that might match the emotions in the room. And number four, this is the final step. Then lead with that emotion language. Again, notice I did not say emotional language. I'm so upset. I don't really mean that per se. I mean actually leading with emotion language. How are we feeling today is a question I ask. In our huddles, I've begun to ask, hey, how are you feeling your output is today? On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? And we ask this question now in our daily huddle. So those are the 4 steps. Add emotional vocabulary, help move emotions to actions or plans, read the emotions of the room, or lead with emotion language. Now, is that helpful? Maybe it's a starting point. Maybe we need to expand on it a bit more. Maybe we could work on this a bit more. Leitra is sending me a DM here. Oh, and then Brittany just added, this topic is really hitting you guys a little bit. Brittany jumps in and says, or instead of matching the emotions of the workroom, be one emotional level above. Thank you. Yes. Where they are to help raise them up on that emotional tone scale. Absolutely. So reading the emotions of the room and then leading with emotion language, she caught me there and it's good. Not to match the emotions of the room. In neuro-linguistic programming, there's a thing called pacing. And how pacing works is you mirror first. You mirror the emotions of the room, and then you intentionally pace it up. And this idea of mirroring means developing empathy with people around you without getting sucked into their low emotional level. This is a really good point, Brittany. So you want to be able to read accurately the emotions in the room. You want them to know that you do understand and you do hear them, and then you want to raise the tone in the room. So there's like a micro moment. I would call it a 5 or 10% moment where I still think you should mirror, maybe not match their emotional level, but you should at least mirror it so that they know what's going on. And you should feel it. You should connect in that moment, not just as a tactic, but you should actually get those feels in the moment and relate with them and understand and really truly try to feel what they're feeling, but then have a plan in your mind for raising that tone to the next level. You should always be in your own little bubble, monitoring the tone in the room. And then always trying to go, how can I raise this tone one level higher? Am I a weight to the emotional gravity in the room? Or am I light? Am I light as an actual light from a light? Or am I light in terms of weight? And as Brittany says, you should at least be trying to raise everyone up at least one tone. And if everyone in the room were on that strategy, the day should progress. And yes, we're getting tired. Yes, we're getting exhausted as the day goes on, but we're lifting each other up. Am I looking for micro moments to lift everyone up? I love that, Brittany. That's fantastic. And Leitra says, She's recently become certified Colby consultant, which explores the 3 levels of the brain: cognitive, affective, feeling, and conative, innate instincts. It's interesting, Leitra. I'm going to actually follow up with you on that because I've been looking for good certifications. So let me throw this out there. I'm actually really struggling to find good certifications for the eyeballs watching. If you have a good coaching or training certification or management or leadership certification that you've seen that you love, hit me with it. I think I'm looking for a good system, and I've been looking, but I haven't found anything I'm totally satisfied with. So just total sidebar. So last but not least, let's wrap this message up with adding a new word to your vocabulary. Brittany just added one called emotional tone scale. That's a fantastic word that we should clear and unpack because you can take action on that term. Let me give you another one, and let me give you context for this word. The Psalm says, "Be still and know that I am God." And I was jogging this morning, and I was jogging, and I was about to put on an audiobook while I was jogging. I thought, okay, productivity, here we go. I'm going to put on my audiobook and listen while I run. What else can I do? I might as well be social meeting, so I should take social media photos, and I should blast that everywhere. So now I'm doing 3 things while I'm doing one. And then I should, chasing productivity. And then I challenged myself. There's a book called Running, Meditate, Zen and the Art of Running. That's what it is. And it's a method to be present and centered while you run. So I remembered it and I went through it. And then the scripture hit my brain: "Be still and know that I am God." You know, the Buddhist term for this same process is samatha. And it means to stop and concentrate on what you're doing and to look deeply at it. Similar to what has to happen when you do bonsai. You have to be about that bonsai. You have to see into it. There's another Buddhist term, and it's a type of Buddhist meditation called vipassana. And the word itself actually means to look deeply, deeply. But hear me on this. Take a pause. To look deeply into the fabric of the being of a thing. You got to lower your voice when you talk about really spiritual things. You know, I could just say, it's vipassana, look deeply at something. And that feels like a very flimsy piece of paper towel. But when you pause and say, no, I want you to know that vipassana is to look deeply, to be still and look deeply into the fabric of a thing. We've lost touch with the sacred, and I want to call that out. Leitra says this: the power of being still is absolutely life-changing. Way to go, Grant, and recognizing your opportunity of connecting with being present in a moment. Thank you for that. I'll take that encouragement. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate that, Leitra. So Psalms has a concept: be still and know that I am God. And there's this idea of stopping. So as I was jogging, this idea hit my brain of, wow, I can do this as meditation and allow this to help me usher in the divine, to connect with the sacred. And then the term of Buddhism hit me as well. And then Brittany adds this in a very sublimely beautiful way: to learn how to comfortably be there. You know, when you do Vipassana meditation, they teach that when you look into the very fabric, the sacred fabric of a thing's being, there's a moment where there becomes no difference between the observer and the thing being observed. Sometimes it's a candle when you meditate and you pay attention to the candle so much so that you lose track of yourself and you are just into the candle. You're into the light, you're into the flickering, you're into the smell. You might even hear it. Then you start thinking about where the wax came from. Then you start thinking about the wick and then the essential oils that make up that candle. You totally lost track of yourself. Are you the candle, or is the candle you? This doesn't happen all the time in meditation. If you're lucky, you access that sacred. This form of meditation, think of it like a flower. You see a daisy in the yard, and it's just a daisy. The landscaper's going to mow over that thing any minute. But is a daisy actually made up of any daisy-like material? No. If you actually sit and ponder a daisy, the daisy's actually made up of soil, rain, wind, minerals, atoms. Leitra says you're tapping into all the things I love this morning. Well, some days you get it and some days you don't. Some days you get it and some days you get got. Hopefully I'm hitting it today. But a flower is not made up of anything of its own. There is no sub-material called a daisy. We might even say a seed, a daisy seed. No? Daisy seed is made up of atoms and minerals, star stuff, as Shakespeare appropriately said. So if you can actually ponder the being, the very fabric of being of a thing, you come to realize there is no being of that thing without other things. And the same is true of you. There is no you. There is no Grant stuff. Even when in the Christian tradition, when we talk about the Spirit, it's technically not even our spirit. It's Espiritu Santo, the Holy Spirit. In Buddhism, you are also made of star stuff. In the Tao Te Ching, you're comprised of the Tao. You just happen to be beautifully and fearfully and beautifully made for this moment. And whether nature gave birth to you or the sacred and divine, the unknowable gave birth to you, you and I know we're here for a short time. We're made up of the minerals, of the sun, of the water, of the genetics of our predecessors. Katie jumps in and says, so true. The new direction of my business came to me in silent meditation, asking God to speak because I really didn't know which direction to go. And Katie's going right to my point. Not only are we physiologically, there's nothing that's inherently Grant. You can't go dig up Grant material and then build a Grant, right? But the same is true of our goals. Our goals, and we are on the other side of this. You might see the life, see the world through your own eyes, but you have to go back to the preceding moment when you were a twinkle in somebody's eye and just an idea. That's where your goals are. They're on your goals are on they're a twinkle in your eye that doesn't make them any less real. There's no hard material where you dig up a goal and you say, hey, here's my goal. Here's material for goal. What's that goal? $1 million. So you don't go dig up material, the $1 million material, and put it together and then you have $1 million tree. It's just a twinkle in your eye. And it will eventually be composed of blood, sweat, tears, effort, love, compassion, emotional maturity, investment, weekends and nights. It's made up of all that material. Interbeing is this. This is your word. Your word is interbeing. Actually, I'm going to pause and show Jared's comment here. Constantly going and doing is exhausting, at least eventually and for a time. Connection with that deeper being is restful and restorative. Humans are being, which is why we're called human beings. We're just beings. And your deep voice on this is powerful. You're welcome, Jared. Your word is interbeing. You are not an individual human being. On the macro, from here forward, you're an interdependent being that comes up, that comprises the organism we call the human organism or humanity. But preceding you, coming before you, you are also made up of raw materials that aren't necessarily anything that we just happen to label grantedness. You know, I heard it said once about the gentleman you guys have all heard me talk about, Bud Hollowell, who wrote The Quantum Gateway. He was a mentor of mine. He was the gentleman who, when he passed, I knew and others knew that he had passed. And Sheila, his widow and friend, Sheila Hollowell, she's still in our community, our Lakeland business community. She said, I still see his pattern everywhere. We've talked about being an integrated being, that you were so dense and with solid energy that you've taken everything good inside of you that even when you pass, your pattern stays. This is kind of what I like to think is the foundation of what we call reincarnation. Your pattern stays. You, whether it's Jared or Katie or Leitra or Brittany or Adam, or whoever else is popping in and out. You are only a label. Grant is only a label. Your names are only a label for the pattern you have. Your pattern is the nexus, an accumulation of preceding elements. and succeeding elements, that which is coming next and that which you'll become a part of. That which your label, this label, Grant, is part of the Marissa label, and together that makes up the Nadu family, right? So we talk about the Nadus, and there's something transcendent of Grant and Marissa individually. Interbeing. It's not my word. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen Buddhist, has a group called the Order of Interbeing. Look it up. It's beautiful. The Order of Interbeing. And it's a monastic order of people who live by the 14 principles of interbeing. You don't have to go there to get this concept. To elevate your emotional quotient is to pause. Pause for the sacred. I don't care if you're working, but just be about that at the sacred level. I don't care if you're communing over coffee. Be about that at the sacred level. I don't care if you're looking at candles like Leitra might when she meditates. Be about that and connect with the sacred. Because those restorative moments that Jared is talking about, when you have the perspective, it's just a perspective. This word interbeing is meant to only be a reminder, like a snap rubber band bracelet or like a bonsai on the table to remind you to be patient. The word interbeing is meant to be injected into your vocabulary to remind you that not only are you not you, you're just an accumulation of all the good intentions that came before you. Not only are you not you, you get the fortune and benefit of participating in what is coming next in your goals, in your community, in your business. So why is this a leadership concept? If it's not obvious to the illuminated people who have already been interacting, it should be. Coming into a conversation where I am only as good as my weakest link, that's a bad way to say it. I am only as good as I enable my team to be. I'm only as good as I enable my team to be. Now, this is the weight of leadership. If you think you're leading and no one's following, you're only going for a walk. Own that. Everything rises and falls on leadership. That's a quote from John Maxwell. And we believe this, but not from a browbeating sort of way, from an emotionally enlightened way. We are only as good as the team we keep close to us and serve. So when, according to what we just talked about with Brittany's thing a few comments back, taking a read of the emotional level in the room, making sure that you're at least 1 or 2 levels on that scale up, and engaging with them in a moment where they're at to develop that rapport, but seeking to lift their emotional spectrum. How can I make your day better? Is a simple way to do that. Why? Because we're interbeing. I'm not a human being. We are humanity, and we are an interbeing. I'm only as good as I've enabled you to be. And you are only as good as you've enabled me to be. And I think if we can hit this home and then do the other 4 steps, add emotion vocabulary, help move emotions to actions or plans, read the emotions in the room, and then lead to that next emotional level with emotion language, I think you'll find a deeper connection with those people around you. Listen, you beautiful people, it's time. It's time for you to go rock your day. It's time for you to go take this Thursday to connect deeply. Your challenge today is to connect deeply with your team at next level. If it's Katie connecting more deeply with Jared and vice versa, if it's you guys reaching out to your potential employees or your potential vendors, whatever it is you're doing today, your challenge is to connect on an emotional level, to be able to come away and say, I met with so-and-so, and this was their emotional state, and this is how we ended that emotional state higher. I'm meeting with so-and-so, and we talked about this, and when we left, we both felt better. I want you to pick up the phone from that phone call you're procrastinating with one goal, not to get beat up by that upset client or that upset family member, but one goal, and that's to shake off any procrastination or fear and make a goal to elevate that person while you're talking with them. That's your goal. That's your only goal. That's what we mean when we say State of the Spark is all about igniting lives of explosive significance. But you got to start with your own. Listen, if you need any help, whoa, Leitra jumps in and says, Grant, Scotty's about to beam me up. Have a fantastic day. You have a fantastic day, Leitra. Thank you so much for dropping in. Thank you for giving us the value of your time today. Have a great day. And to the rest of you, if you ever need any books or training, keep checking stateofspark.com. That's where we're going to launch the new Top 100 Dream Igniter when we do. If you have any questions or want to carry this conversation forward, please visit us at the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. Here's to you igniting your own life of explosive significance. Have a great